Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
The dip that we saw was crypto-wide, so it wasn't just XRP, but the dip that we saw, it was as a result of what was happening with regard to the Russia-Ukraine situation that I'm just going to assume everybody is aware of at this point. Stock markets were tanking, crypto followed, and it's since bounced back, and didn't know exactly how long it would take for markets to bounce back, but it happened very quickly. And typically, once there's the initial scare for something like this, unless something completely additionally disastrous comes out to spook the markets, that's probably all that we were going to see there. So what a short-lived dip. So there's a couple things to say on that. Also, this is worth highlighting. Here's a headline from CNBC. EU, UK, Canada, US pledge to remove selected Russian banks from interbank messaging system SWIFT. Well, how about that? Ripple's competitor SWIFT. Apparently, some ramifications for Russia, but how severe, and does that actually mean anything for RippleNet? And more importantly, if you're an XRP holder, what about XRP? So talk about that as well. But before going any further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Here's the 7-day price action for XRP. That's what this chart is on your screen. Looks like typical crypto volatility, not too bad. I mean, what XRP get down? Like 63, this is 64 cents or somewhere in that range. And as high within the last week as what? Let's see, 81 cents. And it's sitting at 73 cents at the time that I'm recording this, so roughly in the middle of those 2 points. And that's despite some nasty pullbacks in crypto, like I said. Markets have rebounded, and so it just looks like it. And look, I don't know for sure if this means that we're going to see another rally to the upside or if things are going to dip further. Various analysts have various opinions on this. I'll just say this, though. Without any other global developments, additional, it's not going to be because of that. It'll just be because crypto's back to doing what it was doing here. Here's a crypto fear and greed index at 26 out of 100, indicating that market participants are in extreme fear, which is exactly where they were yesterday, 26 out of 100. So it is what it is. I mean, it's just so funny because, you know, you go back like a couple years ago when the prices were so much lower than where they are now. But I know everything's relative and it's all about the direction in the moment, but it still is for someone like me that's been in crypto since November 2017, over 4 years now, never cashed out in USD, never sold a single XRP. To see humans continuing to behave like this, as I expect them to, it's still just silly. It's just, I'm never going to cease to be amazed. I'm thinking at this point. Now take a look at this. This is from Link2, and so they do private equity investments. So like pre-IPO companies, you can invest in them if you're an accredited investor, including Ripple. So they actually sell Ripple, and yes, I do mean Ripple, not XRP. They're selling Ripple, shares of Ripple, the company. And they shared this chart here. I'll make this full screen, and they wrote the following: "This is a representation of Ripple's valuation increasing consistently, and we look forward to XRP receiving the clarity and true price discovery it deserves. Rest assured, Link2 is hustling to democratize access to private markets." And so he shows this representation of Ripple's value increasing over the same time period that XRP hasn't been doing as hot. Well, and why? Well, XRP is just moving in tandem with the rest of the market here. But it just goes to show the degree to which XRP, in terms of price action, not linked to what happening with Ripple at all. It just isn't. And people have been bemoaning that. A lot of people have. I've seen that over the years, and people questioning why isn't it core? Well, there are a number of reasons. Again, the market just moves in tandem because it's in its nascency, but there are all sorts of people that are buying XRP for all sorts of reasons that also have nothing to do with Ripple. So just consider that as well. It will eventually, as the market matures, be all about which cryptocurrencies are actually functionally being used, but we're just not seeing crypto by and large being used today, so it's not surprising to see this. I also wanted to point out this, and I just, from time to time, I'll point out comments like this because I think it's worth noting. Look, I don't know for sure whether or not Bitcoin's actually in a bear market right now. Some people think yes, some people think no, but I'm going to note that people are, like just your typical retail speculators, even though they're fearful now, they're not behaving quite the same way as what we saw several years ago when we entered the bear market. And so take a look at this from on-chain analyst Will Clemente, who wrote, 76.5% of Bitcoin supply hasn't moved in at least 6 months, a new record. Again, 4 years ago, this is not what you saw. So just take it for what it's worth. I'm not saying it's the end-all be-all, but there are a number of things to consider when you're doing analysis and in terms of the topic of conversation. What's going to happen in terms of price? Well, there's technical analysis, there's fundamental analysis, and there's on-chain analytics, and they all matter to varying degrees. Fundamental analysis matters almost 0%, but that won't always be the case. Eventually it will matter more, but those are the things to look at. And so I'm just saying this is a piece of the puzzle, and that's a bullish piece of data right there. It just is. And then there's this, I don't really want to read this article, but I keep seeing all sorts of perspectives from many different analysts, and the vast majority still think that structurally, if I just look on the macro level, we're going to be seeing major moves to the upside. And you know my perspective, I don't think that this market cycle ends without having an alt season. I don't think that humans are behaving in any sort of notable way different than even 4 years ago. I really don't. And so to think that this would be the first time we don't see that blow off top just doesn't make sense. I think people are going to want to get as much money out of this market as possible, and I think that's going to result in every coin pumping and then just cycling through. So here's a headline from you today: crypto ready for wave 5 upsurge, says legendary trader. And they're talking about Henrik Zeberg here. And again, I don't feel like reading the article. I just thought I'd share the idea here. The best days are yet ahead. And even if this guy's wrong, well, hell, it's still just a matter of time. Even if we were in a bear market, eventually markets rebound. Crypto's not going away, period. So it doesn't make sense to be fearful about this. And then there was this. I first saw this a few hours ago from Hedgeye, which I think they do a fine job from what I've seen. They typically put out just accurate information, but I'm a skeptic, so when I see a headline, I just want proof of it. It's not that I'm saying you're outright a liar. I just want to know if you're stating something and I can't find the evidence, especially if I can't find it easily. I'm going to want to know where you got your information. And so there's this tweet from Hedgeye, and they got quite a few followers, right? Yeah, 127,000 followers. And they tweeted out, "Russia is out of SWIFT. Here we go." And so I was like, really? Okay, because just a couple days ago, it didn't seem like it was necessarily on the table. And so I just asked for a source, and I wrote that I did a Google search, and there were no articles at the time anyway. At least nothing was easily popping up. I found something on the topic of this, but not indicating that Russia had been removed from SWIFT. And all sorts of people ended up sharing the latest information on this. And so thank you to all of you, like for instance, Crypto Flubber here, and there are some others. But as it turns out, it's not actually quite precise enough. It's not that Russia was removed from SWIFT entirely. It's that there were some specific banks that are no longer allowed to communicate. And so why not a clean break? Well, it speaks to the degree to which people are really willing to really go after Russia at this point, because the thing is, there are things that Russia can do in response. So if you're talking about especially surrounding nations, a lot of them get their oil from Russia, and so if you block them off, that could be highly disruptive for nations. And so there's all sorts of reasons for stuff like this. And so it does seem like that's a primary reason, but there are certain banks getting caught. We don't know that. We're not privy to the specifics of which banks though and what the ramifications are. So I'm just being for real. It's still something. Now, as far as what that means for Ripple or XRP, effectively nothing. Because I understand this. Any sort of sanctions that any sort of nations are under, regardless of platform, it's going to be the financial institutions, the banks that are operating in various jurisdictions and geographic regions to make sure that they're complying with the rules and laws of their area. So whether it's SWIFT or RippleNet, it doesn't matter. They still have the same compliance issues and same results in terms of sanctions. So if you're Russia and you want to get around this, perhaps you could use cryptocurrency, but again, it's not like there's no ramifications against that either. Because even if you're doing that, these blockchains vast majority of them are public anyway. So like say you're using Bitcoin or XRP, well, if somebody's not playing ball, then you can still have push some geopolitical pressure on whatever nation you want. So it's not like that changes either, because you can track these again where all these transactions occur. It's not this is not anonymous. People, it's such a misnomer. Cryptocurrency, by and large, is not anonymous unless you're talking about actual privacy coins, and even then, you can see what's touching the endpoints of those transactions. And so, like for instance, the FBI. There was a story I covered recently where they were actually able to figure out. It was that huge one with the whatever it was, a $3.6 billion hack from the name of the exchange escapes me now. But anyway, they were actually trying to launder the money utilizing privacy coins. They got caught. So it's like you can still see what touches the endpoints of even the privacy coin transactions. So it's not the case that all of this is anonymous. And so what does it mean for XRP? That's why, in a nutshell, nothing. In the short term, this means absolutely nothing. And also understand, like, this is not a dig against Ripple. I think I'm a fan of Ripple. They're fantastic. But RippleNet is small compared to Swift right now. And so, like, this doesn't functionally change really anything, right? The way that it's set up. I just don't think that matters. So, I don't feel like I really need to read through this article. I had this article pulled up from CNBC. I can give you a little bit of tidbits in case you want some of the specifics, I suppose. Maybe I can run through just the top portion of this here. But I wanted to talk first about how this might have any sort of implication for Ripple and or XRP. And it really doesn't, to be honest with you. Not in the short term, at least. But anyway, here you go. The U.S., European allies, and Canada agreed Saturday to remove key Russian banks from the interbank messaging system SWIFT, an extraordinary step that will sever the country from much of the global financial system. This will ensure that these banks are disconnected from the international financial system and harm their ability to operate globally, the global powers wrote in a joint statement announcing the significant retaliatory measure. Now, folks, don't you think that Russia recognized that this could potentially happen? And don't you think that, given they understood that, they just don't care and they're properly positioned prior to this happening? I would think so. And plus they understand that they're, in a way, in a position of power, again, as it pertains to oil, because so many of these nations are not energy independent. Those are national security issues, But anyway, Moscow's exclusion from SWIFT, which stands for the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, means Russian banks won't be able to communicate securely with banks beyond its borders. Iran was removed from SWIFT in 2014 following developments to Tehran's nuclear program. SWIFT is an independent enterprise based in Belgium that serves as an internal messaging system between more than 11,000 banks and financial institutions in over 200 countries and territories. SWIFT did not immediately respond to CNBC's request for comment. And so that's the latest update there. Again, not that it matters for XRP, but understandably people have been curious about what this might mean for Ripple and or XRP, so I thought I'd talk about it a little bit.
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below, and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.